The first event in my life that I would consider to be a tragic event is definitely when my family home was destroyed by fire. We were actually at church at our Christmas cantata. It was about 2 weeks before Christmas, and our house was in flames. Being from a small town, my parents were tracked down and told what was going on, and I will never forget that heart-throbbing moment that we turned onto our road and I could see the fire spilling out of our bedroom windows. Um, I can still hear my mother crying out in my neighbor's yard that everything they had worked for was gone. And I still can hear my sister, who was a teenager, quietly telling my mother that we were all safe, that we were not in the house. As a child, I questioned God as to why this absolutely devastating event was going on and why this was happening to us and why all of my material things that I held so very dear to me were gone.
I remember a time in my life fairly recently that I questioned God, and it was over the death of my grandfather. And growing up, him and I didn't have a very good relationship. Actually, there wasn't much of a relationship at all. We just really didn't care for each other, and uh, and I never really cared. But about a year and 3 or 4 months ago, he got really sick terminally, and we knew he wasn't going to make it much longer. And I was just broken over the condition of mine and his relationship, and really how much I didn't like him. And I remember praying to God that he would allow my grandfather to live long enough for me to go out to Texas and see him and try to make things right that weren't right. And I remember praying that, and I felt a peace about it that God would allow him to do that. And 2 weeks later, my mom called me one morning, and she told me that he had passed away. And I was driving my truck, and I pulled over on the side of the road and just began to question God. I asked God for something so simple that I thought was very simple. Could you just let him live long enough for me to see him? And and he didn't. And I remember, looking up and saying, God, I asked you for this. Why couldn't you grant me this one small thing?